Imagine a heart shattered by betrayal, a young woman cast aside by the man she loved, only to discover that fate had a dazzling destiny waiting in the wings. A Tycoon who'd silently adored her for a decade, ready to crown her his queen. Dive into this roller coaster of heartbreak, secrets, and triumphant love that will leave you breathless. Subscribe now to unlock more captivating stories that twist and turn, pulling you into worlds of passion and redemption. Leela Grayson stood shivering in the rain outside the quaint cafe where her fiancé, Ethan Caldwell, had promised to meet her to finalize their wedding plans, her heart swelling with dreams of a future she'd painstakingly built in her mind over the past 2 years. But as minutes turned to hours, the realization hit her like a freight train. He wasn't coming, and the cryptic text she received, "I can't do this, Leela. It's over," shattered her world into a million pieces, leaving her to gather the fragments of her dignity under the judgmental stares of passers-by who saw only a drenched, abandoned girl in a faded dress, unaware that this moment of despair was merely the prelude to a destiny far grander than she could ever imagine. Growing up in the small, dusty town of Willow Creek, Leela had always been the poor girl, raised by her widowed mother in a crumbling trailer, her clothes patched together from thrift store finds, yet her spirit burned bright with ambition and kindness, earning her the affection of everyone except those who measured worth in dollars. Ethan, the charming son of the town's wealthiest real estate developer, had swept into her life like a fairy tale prince, his promises of love and a secure future blinding her to the whispers of his infidelity and his family's disdain for her humble roots. She'd ignored the signs, the way his mother sneered at her calloused hands, the way his friends snickered when she spoke of her dream to become a teacher, because Ethan's kisses felt like salvation, and his proposal under the town's ancient oak tree had seemed like a ticket out of poverty. But now, standing alone in the rain, the ring on her finger felt like a cruel joke, and as she trudged back to her mother's trailer, her tears mixed with the downpour, she vowed never to trust love again, unaware that a man named Victor Langston, a billionaire tycoon who'd watched her from afar for 10 years, was about to change everything. Victor, now 35, had first seen Leela when she was just 16, a scrappy teenager volunteering at a community center in Willow Creek where he'd stopped during a rare visit to his late mother's hometown, her laughter as she read stories to children sparking something in his guarded heart, a heart hardened by years of building a tech empire in Silicon Valley. He'd been too shy, too consumed by his ambitions to approach her then, but he never forgot her, tracking her quietly over the years through small-town gossip and the occasional photo in the local paper, his admiration growing as she worked tirelessly to put herself through college while caring for her ailing mother. Victor had built his fortune from nothing, a foster kid who'd clawed his way to the top, and in Leela he saw a kindred spirit, a fighter who didn't let hardship dim her light. He'd waited, hoping she'd find happiness, but when he heard of Ethan's betrayal through a mutual acquaintance, his resolve hardened. It was time to step out of the shadows. Back in Willow Creek, Leela threw herself into work at the local library, her dreams of teaching on hold as she struggled to pay her mother's medical bills, her heart still raw from Ethan's abandonment, unaware that Victor had just purchased the town's failing community center with plans to transform it into a state-of-the-art education hub, a project he intended to dedicate to her. One crisp autumn morning, as Leela shelved books, a man in a tailored suit walked in, his presence commanding yet oddly familiar, and when he introduced himself as Victor Langston, her breath caught, not because she recognized him, but because his piercing blue eyes seemed to see straight through her defenses. He offered her a job leading the new education center, citing her reputation for kindness and dedication, and though she accepted, wary of his motives, she couldn't shake the feeling that he knew her in a way she didn't understand. As weeks passed, Victor's quiet support, donating books, funding scholarships in her name, even arranging for her mother's treatment at a top hospital, began to chip away at her walls, but the real shock came when Ethan reappeared, claiming he'd made a mistake and begging for another chance, his charm as slick as ever. Leela, torn between the familiarity of her old love and the mysterious pull of Victor's unwavering devotion, faced a choice that felt impossible, especially when Ethan revealed he'd only left her under pressure from his family, who'd threatened to cut him off unless he married someone worthy of their status. The revelation stung, but it also ignited a fire in Lila. She wasn't just the poor girl anymore, she was someone Victor saw as extraordinary. Yet, just as she began to lean toward Victor, a bombshell dropped. A tabloid leaked photos of Victor with a glamorous heiress, suggesting he was a playboy who'd been toying with Lila's heart, a lie orchestrated by Ethan's family to sabotage her growing bond with the Tycoon. Devastated, Lila confronted Victor, her voice trembling with betrayal, only for him to reveal the truth. He'd never dated the heiress, and the photos were staged. But more importantly, he'd loved her since that day at the community center 10 years ago, keeping a sketch she doodled in a notebook as a teenager. A memento he carried in his wallet as a reminder of the girl who'd inspired him to believe in goodness. Overwhelmed, Lila ran, needing time to process, but fate wasn't done with her yet. At the community center's grand opening, where Lila was set to give a speech, Ethan crashed the event, proposing publicly in a desperate bid to win her back, his words dripping with manipulation as he painted Victor as a heartless opportunist. The crowd gasped, but Lila, standing on the stage, saw Victor in the back, his eyes locked on hers, not with jealousy but with quiet faith in her strength. In that moment, she realized the truth. Ethan offered a hollow past, while Victor had waited a decade to build a future with her. With the crowd watching, Lila rejected Ethan's proposal, her voice steady as she declared she deserved a love that didn't come with conditions, and in a twist that left the town buzzing, she walked off the stage and into Victor's arms, where he whispered that he'd waited 10 years to call her his queen and would wait a lifetime more if she needed. The next day, Victor revealed his final surprise. He'd named the education center after Lila's late mother, ensuring her legacy would inspire generations, and as he slipped a new ring on her finger, not a proposal, but a promise to love her on her terms, Lila knew she'd gone from abandoned to adored, not because of wealth or status, but because one man had seen her worth when she couldn't see it herself, crowning her not just his queen, but the architect of her own triumphant story.